Here in the Dubai desert, money doesn't talk, it shouts. For those that can afford it, Dubai offers a lifestyle to rival any. Oil money, allied with the vision to recreate a country, is fueling a consumer society like no other. Dubai is transforming itself. Until now, sand dune skiing has been the only way you could ski in Dubai. But all that is about to change. The latest grand project is to build a ski resort with real snow right here in the desert. The Kings of Construction will turn the dream of making snow in the desert into reality. Now meet the team who are going to attempt it. Chief Executive Phil Taylor. He has to deliver the biggest and best indoor ski resort in the world.
Huge relief that we're moving on us. How do you feel, Tim?
Head of Construction Tim Kelly. He's responsible for building the world's largest real snow ski dome in the most unlikely place possible. Long-suffering production director Stuart Ingram, the troubleshooter. He's paid by the owners to protect their interests. He has to watch the calendar and count the pennies. Engineer Malcolm Clulow has cracked the secret of making real powder snow artificially, but he's never had to do it in a baking hot desert. Ski Dubai is a massive engineering project demanding solutions to some unprecedented problems. How do you lift a massive 3,000-ton section of ski slope 70 meters in the air?
That's where eventually this has to end up.
How do you build the world's biggest artificial ski slope in record time? They're nearly at breaking point.
And if we don't open in time, there's huge penalties for everybody.
This is the new land of bling. Even though Dubai's oil is running out, its economy is booming. Dubai's rulers have encouraged raging consumerism. Tourists love to shop, and Dubai is the shopping capital of the Gulf. But how do you make your shopping centre stand out from the others? The developers of the Mall of the Emirates believe they've cracked it. This giant construction site covers 600,000 square meters of desert. It will offer 2 luxury hotels of 900 rooms, car parking for 7,000 cars, a 14-screen cinema, and this, Ski Dubai. Khaled and Yusuf bin Larj are part of Dubai's young elite, and 2 of Ski Dubai's future customers. They can't wait to start snow skiing.
It's kind of ironic we're in the middle of the desert and we're building a ski slope, but because it will finally give people who live here, like me, an opportunity to go skiing without traveling to Switzerland or something, you know? Like I've never seen snow.
But building a snow dome in a desert requires some very complicated technology. And 3 months before Ski Dubai is due to open, the Kings of Construction are running into difficulties. To keep the snow from melting, they've built a massive, sophisticated cooling system, a labyrinth of pipes filled with chemicals. But there's a problem. The chemicals are highly toxic. One of them, ammonia, is lethal.
It's a very efficient refrigerant, but it can be explosive in certain concentrations. You have to take measures, A, to stop it leaking into the environment, and B, if it does leak into the environment, you limit that leak. You wouldn't want it filling that space with gas and asphyxiating and killing people.
During routine inspections, Malcolm has become alarmed. There's more than 80 kilometers of pipework on the site, and the quality of the welding looks to him substandard. If it is, the cooling system is a potential time bomb. Even if it can be fixed, Ski Dubai may not open on time, and its builders stand to lose millions. Welcome to Dubai, the shopping capital of the Gulf. The developers of the Mall of the Emirates had to come up with a unique shopping complex to rival its competitors. But how do you make yours the destination of choice? The answer? Build an alpine snow resort in the middle of the desert. Ski Dubai will have a curved slope 400 meters long. It will be the world's largest indoor ski run using real snow technology. Other ski domes around the world are built using simple designs. A nice steep slope is found and a roof is placed over the top. But there are no hills in Dubai, only sand dunes. So Ski Dubai is being built on stilts over the world's largest shopping complex outside of North America, the third biggest in the world. But how do you recreate real mountain snow in an artificial indoor environment? Inventor Malcolm Clulow has cracked nature's code, and he's done it before. This is Escape Snowdome in Milton Keynes, England, one of the world's best indoor ski slopes.
We wanted to make real snow, but real snow grows in flight through the atmosphere and forms a crystal shape that you can recognise against a chart of different snow crystals. And there are more than 250 different kinds of snow. The Eskimos, in fact, have got more than 200 names for snow.
In Milton Keynes, Malcolm's technology has been producing perfect powder snow. This snow forms complex crystals in flight, just like the real thing. The flakes look, feel and taste just like alpine snow. From these small guns, water is sprayed in a fine mist, which forms a cloud. This vapor is then seeded with tiny invisible ice particles, only 10 microns thick. The particles are the nucleus around which the perfect snow crystals form. To keep the dome's 25,000 square meters at the right temperature, you need 10 megawatts of cooling capacity, with 24 coolers suspended from the ceiling. Temperatures inside Ski Dubai will be a constant -2 degrees centigrade for skiing and -6 for snowmaking. And it all comes with a guarantee that 20 centimeters of fresh powder will fall every night. And that is around 30 tons.
The area of snow in here is equivalent to 3 football pitches, if that gives you an idea of the size of this, the space that we've created. We needed it completely column-free, which is how you end up with this 80-meter span, which is phenomenal as a size. And one of the things that I hope you can sort of quite see through here is this isn't a flat gradient or a level slope. This has got all variation of cambers, really aimed at making it feel like a real mountain would be.
Ski Dubai will have 5 different slope gradients, including the world's first indoor black run. When covered with snow, this area of the slope will be 45 degrees. That's steep enough to force the most experienced skier into making jump turns. To avoid a disaster with a run this steep, the designers needed a novel engineering solution.
Just to this side, you can see one of our black runs, and it's actually being built in steps. And the reason is that if we don't build it in steps, the fear is that we'd actually have an avalanche with the snow sliding down the whole of the piste. So really trying to be very careful, because when you're building at these gradients, you've got to consider factors like that. It's an example of how we're innovating the engineering of ski centres and indoor ski centres all the time.
The bizarre engineering challenge is to bring, in effect, a snow-capped mountain into the sweltering desert. To make snow and to keep it from melting, a matrix of pipes filled with dangerous chemicals like ammonia is needed. But during routine inspections, Malcolm has become alarmed that the ammonia cooling system may be unsafe.
Because this refrigerant is explosive and is toxic, someone could get killed.
If the safety of Ski Dubai's cooling system is in doubt, then the project cannot move forward. Malcolm Clulow is most concerned about the quality of the welding.
See, that's where we're going to have considerable problems, if that's a repair, which it looks as if it might be.
Yeah.
This is such a big problem, you know, there's so many welds close together.
Yeah. It's even rusting on the weld, which is never a good sign either.
Yeah. You almost get to a point where strip it out and start again is the
Most practical.
As part of their agreement, the contractors have to test 10% of the welds using non-destructive methods, meaning either X-rays or ultrasonic imaging. The results caused consternation among senior engineers.
What we found was we got 40% failure of the 10%, which is huge.
The contractors have already started repairing the welds. But even if the welds are repaired, will they be safe? Repeated welding can make pipes brittle. The contractors are in for a grilling. In the meeting, the contractor agrees to X-ray test every weld and repair, and then retest any failures in the ammonia plant.
We're both protecting life safety in this issue because this refrigerant is explosive and is toxic, and equally the client doesn't want the ski slope shutting down.
The ammonia cooling system will be checked, rechecked and repaired. Meanwhile, engineers are facing one of the biggest challenges of this entire operation. Their task is to lift a 3,000-ton section of ski slope 60 meters in the air. Most buildings are built from ground up. The higher you go, the more scaffolding you need. Project Director Stuart Ingram has decided to use a method that will save time and money.
One of the big hidden costs that you'll see on jobs of high structures or whatever else is the temporary works that are required to build it. And that was one of the big drivers that led us to push away from traditional construction to strandjack.
Strandjacking means constructing a building on or close to the ground and then lifting it into its final position. This 100-meter section of ski slope is nearly complete. Constructed at ground level, it will soon be lifted 25 meters up to form the upper section of the slope.
What you can see from here is the big floor truss at the back there. That's where eventually this has to end up. So you can see the roof rafters at the top. Those roof rafters match the level of the end of that roof. So that all has to close up and some distance. You start to get the scale of it from here.
These are the machines that will hoist the load. Each hydraulic strandjack can lift 500 tons. The slope will have 16 jacks, 4 on each corner. They work by pulling these metal strands millimetre by millimetre. Hoisting this massive slab of concrete and steel will take 2 days.
This is equivalent to about the weight of 20 jumbo jets. To lift that up into the air, to control it, to position it exactly into the right place, making sure it fits. It's just a fantastic feat of engineering.
Construction head Tim Kelly is already 4 weeks behind schedule, and the penalty payments for finishing late are huge. The pressure is on to lift the slope and move on to the next phase. A 3-story car park is due to be built under the slope. The final checks for the lift can start, but things aren't going according to plan. Tim has returned to his office, and he's concerned that the weather is deteriorating should the operation be called off.
On the weather forecast here, I don't know if you can see it, you can see here the wind speed in knots, and what we have here, which is concerning to us, is that sometime in the afternoon this evening is a peak before it starts to ease. The wind, the effect of the wind on the structure is something we've always been debating. It's something we've been nervous about. You don't want something that heavy uncontrolled. You know, you're talking about 3,000 tonnes on an end of a rope. You know, once it starts to swing, basically the thing will start moving like a pendulum.
You can't stop it.
You can't stop it.
So decision is?
Decision is
tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning, first
thing.
The strong winds arrive and a sandstorm develops. In Dubai, a sandstorm can last 5 days. The high winds may have delayed the strandjacking at Ski Dubai, but work on the world's third largest shopping complex is progressing. Dubai-based entrepreneur Sharia Kojeste is looking forward to opening his extreme sports shop in the new Mall of the Emirates.
Rampage is all about skate, surf and snow. What's going to happen is that the shop front is going to be as though you're walking through a big pair of snow goggles. So you'll walk through the arch of the nose bridge, basically.
Sharia has done his market research and knows his potential customers.
With these indoor ski parks, you get a lot of very fast and good progression with the kids that are learning these sports, and they end up becoming better than the guys that are out on the mountains because they can do it every day.
But given the construction delays, will his shop open on time? Both the shopping complex and Ski Dubai are supposed to open together in 10 weeks' time. But the complex is now 3 weeks behind schedule, and Ski Dubai a month behind. The constructors are under pressure to catch up, and the local weather is not helping the situation. Luckily, the sandstorm has blown over during the night. The weather's now perfect for strandjacking. The workers arrive at the site full of anticipation. Today is the day. Tim has to hand over control to what engineers call a lift master, Rajajimpal Damudaran, better known as Damo. It's a highly specialised job, and Damo's the most experienced lift master in Dubai. Before going ahead, all the chief engineers have to agree that the structure is ready to lift.
We want to get a no objection.
And with the documents signed, the responsibility is now with Damo.
All right, Damo, it's all yours, mate. Away you go.
Most of the lift engineers are Hindu, and they hold a religious ceremony to appease the gods before the lift can begin. All the senior engineers are asked to join in.
Generally, in order to make sure that the lift goes smoothly, we conduct such kind of prayers, just the belief to see that no accidents happens. So it's just for safety.
The head of construction, Tim Kelly, is also feeling anxious.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and down the worst things is it could fall.
After hours of anticipation, the lift starts.
Okay, 4 and 5?
The hydraulic jacks hoist the strands millimetre by millimetre. The first 15 millimetres are the hardest. This is where all the stresses are at their most critical.
It's been erected on a series of legs, if you like, and these legs are in a different profile or a different shape as to what it will be eventually. So as we start to lift it, the structure will move on its own accord and start to flex and bend and take its final position.
The ends are first to lift. The rigid concrete and steel structure bends and sags slightly in the middle, so the centre is the last to rise up. The structure makes long, low groans. This is the slope flexing as it lifts off its supports.
That's part of what we're looking for. We're trying to hear what the structure does. It almost tells you what's going on. Good noise is sort of a squeak type, so it's sort of a stretching thing. A bad noise is a crack. If you hear a bloody bad thump, then that ain't good.
The operation is going to plan, and the structure clears its supports. Then, there's a problem. The strand jack computer system suddenly crashes. The system regulates the jacks so that the structure stays level. If the lift is uneven, the 3,000-ton section will twist, buckle, and collapse. Now the engineers must calculate exactly how long the 3,000-ton slope can dangle in mid-air without snapping in half. If a strong wind suddenly develops, as they often do in Dubai, the structure is vulnerable. The massive surface area risks becoming a huge sail, swaying in the gusts, and smashing the strand jack towers. The fault is basic, but it's taken an hour to locate. A vital power cable has failed. Relieved, Damo restarts the lift. But time is against him, and soon he's forced to shut down operations for the night. But come the morning, the engineers suddenly hear a sound they've all been dreading. It's a big day for the Dubai construction team working on the Mall of the Emirates, home to a massive complex of 2 luxury hotels, car parking for 7,000, and the unique Ski Dubai, the world's biggest artificial ski slope. The roof of the complex is being lifted into place by a hydraulic pulley system called strand jacking. For Ork Dane, it's a huge milestone. Damo, the lift master, suddenly hears a noise. A large crack is the sound all strand jack engineers dread. Everyone stops. Is the structure safe? Are the jacking towers able to withstand the load? Have any steel strands failed and snapped? Are the jacks working properly? Lift Master Damo halts the jacks and the operation. Night is approaching, and he orders checks on every load-bearing joint and well. One may have cracked, and others could follow. It's better to leave the slope to the mercy of the wind than press on with the unsafe jacks. Every available engineer is assigned to checking. The fault must be found. This team examines the wind guides, the brackets that help keep the structure stable. One may have snapped. An hour and a half later, they find the fault.
We took 100% load on early in the afternoon. The tower's shortened, so you can imagine all that load going onto the towers. The steel actually compresses slowly. What we have is serious connections onto the pylons because those towers at that end are quite high. What happened is that as it shortened, one of the sliding connections was supposed to slide sort of bound a bit, and then later on just dropped it into its position. That was the noise we all heard, and it's a very sharp thud. You know, you've got 3,000 tonne hanging on some strands here. Everyone's immediately thinking, you know, we've got a weld failure or something. Everyone starts running around.
With all the checks completed, Damo can continue, and excellent progress is made. The final millimeters are critical. Every strand must be at exactly the right level. There's no margin for error. The lift is over, and the team celebrates their success. Meanwhile, Ski Dubai's chief executive, Phil Taylor, has to approve the centrepiece for the children's ice rink. This ice dragon is the world's largest cast acrylic sculpture.
One of the reasons why we've gone to acrylic is that when we actually looked at doing it in real ice and carving it, firstly the size of blocks we could get in Dubai are just very small, so that it'd be made up like a block kit. Yeah. But the other is that ice evaporates, and so within 2 or 3 months the claws, all the detail would have gone, and you'd just be left with little stubs and points. So in this way, it should look good all the time. Great. Well, there's the wings. Yeah. Brilliant. It looks just like broken ice, which is exactly how it's supposed to look.
We want it as a sharp edge, but it's not dangerous.
Yeah.
Hey, can you bring dead icicles?
No.
By the time it's got a coat of frost on it and cooled down, it'll just look brilliant and shine off.
But the construction of Ski Dubai is now 6.5 weeks behind schedule. Even at the best of times, top constructors would be hard pushed to make up that time. And this is not the best of times. Ski Dubai is beset with a mounting crisis.
There's no need to make horror stories.
We're not making horror stories. What you demonstrate
and run. Okay? I don't like that.
The next phase of production starts. And right on cue, production director Stuart Ingram's day begins badly. The drag lift ramp that will haul skiers to the top of the Black Run is too steep and too short. This ramp was difficult and expensive to secure to the cladded walls. Now Stuart has to tear it down and rebuild it.
When you saw the work that was involved in putting the initial or the original steel support in, there's a considerable amount of work involved in doing it, and now we need to replicate it.
It's yet another delay that will cost time and money. The July temperature has risen to an unbearable 53 degrees Celsius. It's not just the engineers who are behind schedule. The interior designers are too. They're carving artificial rock out of concrete, but it's setting fast. They have to work quickly. If they slow down, the concrete becomes too hard to shape.
Soy el director artístico de este proyecto y yo me encargo de tapar toda la ingeniería y toda la arquitectura y hacerla que se vea muy bonita, ¿no? Y para que la gente entre aquí y piense, joder, estoy en una cueva y me lo voy a pasar bien.
What will normally happen is that the art director, who is in charge of the whole thematic design, will give us a sketch photograph of what he is looking for. And our artists will simply interpret that and give him back exactly what he wants. They can basically have anything that they want. And so that's why on this particular project, you see so many different types of theming. But a lot of it is learnt on the job. It's not something you learn in a college, but it's very much an art form.
Then, without warning, the power shuts down. The carver's tools are now useless and work stops.
The problem we've got right now is, as you know, one of the phases has gone down with the power. So apart from working in this horrendous heat, we've now got no electricity. So the danger is that all the material you've sprayed on the wall is all now going to go off before we can start carving.
Putting more people on the job isn't an option.
It's a huge problem because the work that we do is an art. You know, we've got artists carving in wet cement, and you cannot get more artists. You can't go to the market and say, give me 10 more artists. You've only got the team that we have, so it's an extremely difficult thing to catch up time.
Ski Dubai is now 8 weeks behind schedule.
We're a little bit further behind schedule than we'd like to be. The pressure on everyone now is just enormous. There's so much at stake. I mean, there's huge penalties on the contractors if they're delayed, but also for the retailers. They've got their season's collections in. If we don't open in time, there's huge penalties for everybody.
Henri Perperdue, the engineer in charge of installing the travelators on the nursery slope, is one of the most popular characters on the construction site. This is a man who enjoys his job.
Nous sommes en train de mettre en place les travelators qui vont remonter les skieurs de Dubaï. Mais bien évidemment, on est un peu en difficulté parce qu'on est plus habitué à la montagne où il fait nettement moins chaud. Là, c'est terrible, 50 degrés. Vous voyez comment on transpire, c'est vraiment grave, quoi. Et toujours aussi chaud.
His enthusiasm drives forward a weary team. The humidity is in the high 90s and the temperature is touching 55 degrees Celsius.
Quickly, à vide. Donc c'est une bande transporteuse qui tourne en continu avec des inserts caoutchouc pour que ça soit bien adhérent et que les skis ne repartent pas en arrière pendant la montée, quoi. Nous avons aussi mis en place sur ces nouvelles machines, et je dirais tout spécialement pour Dubaï, des sécurités maximum. Avec la caméra, on va vous arrêter en haut. Les gens ne sont pas habitués au ski, ne sont pas habitués à ce genre de mode de transport. Et nous pensons qu'il était important de mettre des choses supplémentaires pour ces gens-là, qui n'ont pas l'habitude. Où il est passé, Kiki? Venez par là. Oh! Non, gardez les chaussures. Gardez les chaussures. Go! Go, go, go! Go, go, go! Alors nous avons encore quelques réglages techniques à faire, bien sûr. C'est pour ça qu'on fait des essais de charge, pour voir comment réagit la machine avec une charge maximum.
Henri is subjecting the travelator to far more weight than would be expected once the slope opens. Then the passengers will be spaced out, because they'll be wearing skis. And of course, some will be children.
Les moniteurs de ski vont pouvoir, pour les petits, régler la vitesse de 0 à 0,70 m, qui est le maximum autorisé, bien sûr.
Like the rest of the construction team, Henri is running behind schedule. But his infectious joie de vivre relieves some of the stresses at least. The next engineering challenge at Ski Dubai is to get the cable lift up and running by winding the cable around the pulleys. The engineer in charge of the chairlift, Christian Chapelot, is ready to start. However, Christian's team needs 4 walkie-talkies to complete the job, but they've only been given 3. Christian doesn't have one and cannot direct the action. Work has to stop. He's unhappy.
J'ai pas la radio. Donc on peut pas dérouler. C'est très simple et très compliqué à la fois.
But one piece of the jigsaw is at least falling into place. Someone's located the scaffolding needed for Christian's 70-meter platform. Now armed with his walkie-talkie, Christian can start.
Et Alain, tu peux tirer, je suis à la moitié. Allez, on roule. Be careful.
But he's not happy for long. There's a problem with the winch and the cable drum. The clamps supporting the drum are too small. The drum is now unstable and at a real risk of toppling over. Christian has had enough.
C'est fini.
Voilà, on n'a plus qu'à braquer, donc
Pose les freins là.
je vais remettre en sécu là.
Ben, c'est une petite heure, plus 20 minutes, plus 6, ça va nous prendre. On va finir au départ, on avait dit 6 heures. On va arriver à 1 journée et demie bientôt. Si ça continue comme ça. C'est la vie.
All these problems mean that Ski Dubai is now even further behind schedule. The teams of instructors and support staff have arrived to find a ski resort with no snow. For the first week, there is much to do. All the skis, helmets, boots and poles have to be prepared and sorted. In their second week, two of the snowboard instructors decide that if they can't ski on snow, then sand will just have to do. And Dubai has lots of sand.
Desert is awesome. There's no way to describe it. You've got to be here to appreciate it, really. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Sandboarding is incredible. It's very different to snowboarding, but a great experience, certainly.
Yeah, I thought the sandboarding was pretty cool there. It's a bit slower than snow, obviously, but
it tastes a little different as well.
Yeah.
Back at Ski Dubai, the welding for the cooling system has become an issue once again. Ammonia is used to cool the glycol antifreeze, which is then piped under the snow. The ammonia system failed several tests, and the problems are now being corrected. But none of the 4,500 wells in the glycol system has yet been inspected. And after the experience with the ammonia wells, confidence is not high.
There is a life safety issue with the glycol as well, because although it's not a volatile refrigerant, it doesn't boil as a gas. This glycol, it can be down as low as -25 centigrade, which is 55 degrees C below skin temperature. So it would be like pouring water at 85 centigrade on your skin, which would cause a burn. You know, we've got 10-inch pipes out there full of glycol, with the static head from the whole slope on them. So, you know, if you've got a major break, there could be a huge fountain pouring over the general public and someone could get killed. Because they've had so many failures on the ammonia, it's the same welders that are working on the glycol. So they're not just doing a few welds bad, they must be doing all the welds bad, you must suspect.
A full inspection is to be carried out, but Malcolm remains highly suspicious. Meanwhile, the shopping complex is a whole month behind schedule, but 160 stores are opening tomorrow. Sharia Kojeste is in his extreme sports shop, and stress levels are high. There is much to do.
1 o'clock's too late. You got to call him now. No, but this is supposed to be checkup plate. How many sandals will go on this? Someone tell me. Sharon, we need now. No, but listen, are you going to set up the sound system in here? The sprinkler guy also has to come and straighten up the sprinkler. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I need stuff to be straight. So that has to be fixed. There's some lighting issues that the guys have to come back and fix again, but that'll happen probably after the opening. Would have liked to have opened with a perfect store, but these things sometimes don't go your way. But overall, we're very, very happy, but there's a lot of things to be done yet.
Sharia and his staff are not the only people feeling the pressure. The main road in and out of the complex is only half finished, and project director Stuart Ingram is organising the final push for completion.
No, this is quite a common occurrence on our last day. We've basically got a very labour-intensive activity, which is block paving. And the thing is, you can just throw hundreds of guys at it. So literally, we've had probably 200, 300 guys on this for the last 3 days, blitzing this area all the way from the car park round, making the final link. You'd be amazed. 4 or 5 hours of cleaning, road markings on the top, it'll look like a finished job.
The complex is nearly finished, but Ski Dubai is nearly 12 weeks behind schedule. Any outstanding technical problems must be resolved, and quickly. This calls for another meeting with the contractors.
Yeah, we've seen so much evidence of bad fit-up on welds. Inspect looked at the photographs that we got on the ammonia fit-up, and his view was he would have rejected 95% of them.
To make sure that the cooling system is safe, Malcolm and Stewart want the contractor to test 10% of the welds by X-ray. Although unlikely that this would really be carried out, the contractor is starting to sweat.
What you're saying implies that we're not doing it. So
it's not a question in people's ability or anything like that. It's just technical issues that we want to have closed.
Forget September, forget October. You're dreaming for a white Christmas.
All right. Okay.
We suspect the contractor is putting up this shield because he knows full well that we'll have the same level of failure on the glycol pipework that we've had on the ammonia pipework, at least, which would mean we'll immediately require him to go to 100% X-ray test on 3,000 odd welds, and that will take a huge amount of time and a huge amount of cost.
The Ski Dubai complex, with its luxury hotels and shops, mammoth car park and multiplex cinema, is over budget and behind schedule. The stores are depending on the resort to attract record numbers of tourists and sightseers with money to spend. Ski Dubai's jewel in the crown will be the world's biggest artificial ski slope. Structurally, it's almost complete. All it needs now is snow, 6,000 tons of it. That will take a month to produce. But first, the technical problems have to be solved. The French chairlift engineers will soon be finished. All that's left to do is attach the chairlifts to the cable. Ski Dubai is beset with yet another hold-up. Some of the pipes buried under the concrete will have to be dug up and replaced. These flexible rubber pipes running from the base of the slope will carry the glycol that will maintain the snow at the right temperature. Malcolm Clulow's original specifications stated that these pipes should have no joints.
What happens is if you get a glycol leak in the middle of the slope, it runs underneath the snow, melts out a huge pattern that widens out from a small leak to maybe 20 metres wide as it runs down the slope. And it melts all the snow underneath that. So the snow starts to implode and it destroys the structure. So if you get a leak of glycol in the middle of the slope, it's a complete shutdown, a big partial meltdown and restart, which would be economically disastrous.
You basically got your connector here.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they can, you know, because they were looking at one stage of just making it a longer piece of pipe there.
Probably not as critical.
Malcolm is convinced these joints will leak once buried in the ice.
And although he's used joints that are approved by the pipe supplier, although the pipe shrinks away from the concrete and leaves a small gap, that will fill with ice and it will physically lock up the pipe. And what happens if you've got a compression joint, you could find that this piece of pipe starts to contract as it cools and pulls the joint that's locked on the other side with ice, and it'll just pull the joint apart. No matter how strongly and how tightly it's tightened up, it'll physically just pull it apart. Now, the power of ice is absolutely enormous. There are several hundred of these joints on the project in different areas that he's now got to order some longer pieces of pipe from Europe, dig out the concrete, throw them away and start again on those sections.
The contractors get the order in quickly, but the European supplier has a hold-up. Once again, there's a delay. The shopping complex has to open without Ski Dubai. The owners have decided that it will be a soft launch and save the big celebration for when Ski Dubai opens. But Sharia Kajeste wants some of his best future customers to open his new store, and a formal ribbon-cutting ceremony just isn't their style. Back at Ski Dubai, engineers have been testing the cooling system.
We've had our share of challenges, particularly on the technical side. The systems have been tested on, off, switch them off, make more adjustments. Checking the welding, we've done considerable testing, pressure testing, vacuum testing on the welding, so we can be absolutely certain. This is not the kind of thing that once it's fully operational, you just switch it off, melt down 6,000 tons of snow and make a few adjustments. We have to be absolutely perfect when we go sub-zero. And we're at that stage now.
All the technical problems at Ski Dubai are solved. It's 3 months late, but snow has finally started to fall in the desert.
It's just amazing. I mean, it's just fantastic that it's finally happening. It is snowing in Dubai.
It was said to be impossible to build a ski resort with real snow in this searing heat. But engineers like Malcolm Clulow, Stuart Ingram, Tim Kelly and Philip Taylor have found a way.